Thanks a lot. Are you ready to take back our country? Well, I'm here first today to say thank you. Thank you for standing up to the ruling class. Thank you for standing up to the liberal power brokers, the guardians of the status quo, and the royal triangle of greed: big government, big unions, and big bailed out businesses. I want to thank each of you and the Tea Party movement for being modern-day Paul Reveres, rallying patriots to the cause of this great nation. The promising work of Governors Walker and Kasich and Christie and so many others is the direct result of dedicated patriots in this room and across the country who stood up, fought back, and are restoring the country's foundation. Thank you to each and every one of you. Our founders put this in terms so simple, even a politician should be able to understand. They started with a most important principle. They didn't say, we're endowed by our member of Congress, or we're endowed by our local bureaucrat. They said, we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. And they said something else very important. They said that government derives its powers from the consent of the governed. And what government was it that our founders instituted and that our fathers ratified? It was the one that begins with this: we the people. And the message of the Tea Party, as I see it, is pretty simple and it's pretty straightforward, and it's this: God made us to be free, and the Founding Fathers made the Constitution to keep us free. And just about every problem our country faces today comes from a rejection of one of those two principles. And every solution we need today will come from a return to those core principles. The Constitution wasn't written to limit freedom. It was written to limit government. Now, it appears that President Obama has forgotten what it says. It says in here, in order to form a more perfect union. Mr. President, that does not mean coddling out-of-control public employee unions. And Mr. President, Wisconsin does not need a lecture from somebody who's never balanced a budget in his life. And speaking of Wisconsin, will you join me in applauding Governor Walker for standing strong against overreaching unions? Now, I'm not one to question the existence of the president's birth certificate, but when you listen to his policies, don't you at least think, what planet is he from? We don't share President Obama's worldview. We don't want a bigger government shoving mandates down our throats, and he's got it completely backwards. They, the bureaucrats, don't tell us what to do. We, the people, tell them what to do. My friends, we need to restore American confidence and American optimism by restoring American common sense. And as Washington proves time and time again, not everybody's born with common sense. We need leaders who remember where they came from and what made this nation the greatest country the world has ever known. For me, that real-world experience started in my hometown of South St. Paul, Minnesota. It's a place filled with good-hearted people, strong families, and the rock-solid values of the heartland. When I grew up there, it was home to the world's largest stockyards and meatpacking plants. But when those plants shut down, so did a big part of the spirit and the soul of my hometown. My mom died when I was 16. And a few years later, my dad, who worked for a trucking company, lost his job for a while. And the foundations of my hometown and my family were shaken really hard. So at a young age, I saw up close the face of challenge, the face of hardship, and the face of job loss. And I saw in the mirror the face of a very uncertain future. And I know that many Americans are feeling that way today. I know that feeling. I lived it. But in those moments, we learn some things. We remember what's important. We simply need more common sense and less Obama nonsense. And let's start with this common sense perspective. Now, this one's a little complex, and I know there may be some liberals watching on video or at home, so I'll say it real slowly so even they can follow along. Are you ready? Here it is. We can't spend more than we take in. You can't do it as a family, we can't do it as individuals, you can't do it as a business, and we can't let our government do it anymore. Just because we followed Greece into democracy does not mean we follow them into bankruptcy. Now, the big government spenders, they come with all the excuses. You've heard them all. They say things like, oh, you know, Governor, we can't do that. How do you do it? It's too hard. The politics are difficult. The unions are too tough. Well, I know something about the spenders, and I know something about difficult. I'm from the state that elected United States Senator Al Franken. But we cut government in Minnesota, and if we can do it there, as Frank Sinatra sang about New York, we can do it anywhere. It wasn't easy. I set a record for vetoes. I had the first government shutdown in Minnesota's history. I took one of the longest transit strikes in the country's history to help get public employee benefits under control, and I cut spending in real terms for the first time in my state's 150-year history. My friends, it's time to get the federal government to do the same. We should not raise the debt ceiling. We should pass a constitutional amendment that requires a balanced budget. We should appoint judges who will not legislate from the bench. We should repeal Obamacare. And we must throw the ridiculous federal tax code overboard. And let's require this, under penalty of perjury, let's require every member of Congress to do their own tax returns without the help of a tax preparer, accountant, or lawyer. Let them experience firsthand the mind-numbing, burdensome, frightening beast our tax system has become. Now, do you remember a year or so ago when that guy was running for the mayor of New York City? And he ran his entire campaign on a simple motto. He said over and over again, the rent is too damn high. You remember this guy? So here's our simple motto. The government's too damn big. Americans need jobs, not more government-forced anything. The private sector, not government, is the answer to job creation. We shouldn't ask Washington, D.C. and people who've never really worked in the private sector how to create jobs. We should ask the people who actually provide the jobs, and when we do, their answer is very simple and it's very clear, and it's this: reduce my costs and get government off my back. Ladies and gentlemen, America needs job growth, not government growth. My friends, none of this is going to be easy. But if prosperity were easy, everybody around the world would be prosperous. If security were easy, everybody around the world would be secure. And if freedom were easy, everybody around the world would be free. They're not. It takes extraordinary effort. It takes extraordinary commitment. It takes extraordinary strength to stand up to people who oppose these principles. But we can do it. Valley Forge wasn't easy. Settling the West wasn't easy. Winning World War II wasn't easy. Going to the moon was not easy. This ain't about easy. This is about rolling up our sleeves, plowing forward, and getting the job done. This is our guide. This is our Constitution. We, the people of the United States, will rise up again. We will take back our government. This is our country. Our founding fathers created it. Americans embraced it. Ronald Reagan personified it, and Lincoln stood courageously to protect it. Now, as ever, this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom. Our government, of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth, and America will remain the greatest country the world has ever known. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you to the Tea Party. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.